What's up, everyone? Before we get to happy hour, we do want to talk about how My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel sponsor of Front Stretch with plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels. My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Racing fans, you can now use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% off your stay at any of our nationwide properties. That's 10% off nationwide with code FRONTSTRETCH. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place. Now, let's get to happy hour.
When the sun goes down in the Nashville town, that Penske 12 blows off your doors and the whole field gets blue. There's an old school race in this concrete place. Blaney took two, didn't lose no pace, then has the random long. I thought he's losing too. But I spend most every week loving the technique of the Neon 12. Oh, he might sometimes be unlucky, but Blaney, he ain't ever sucky. He breaks most drivers' dreams when they're in front of the beams of the Neon 12. He breaks most drivers' dreams when they're in front of the beams of the Neon 12.
Welcome to Happy Hour, and for the first time in 20 years, Pook Combs is back. Ladies and gentlemen, he decided to come. He decided, I guess his tour finally failed, and he washed up onto our streets here at Happy Hour and came back. Got off his lazy ass and wrote another song for us. And
I found him on the streets of Broadway this weekend, Trey. I found him. He was just on the street side begging for money, like playing. I'm like, Puke.
He does look like a hobo, so I would get.
That's what I told him. I'm like, Puke, you got to clean up your act, man. Don't. And I, as a true friend,
had puke on him. Speaking,
yeah, I mean, well, he had some kind of substance on there. I didn't really take a close enough look, but I mean,
was it white?
It didn't smell great. No, but it didn't smell great. I'll tell you that right now.
Got it. Well, glad to have Puke Combs back here serenading us. Dalton Hopkins, Michael Massie. I'm Trey Lyle. Joining us this week, he works for our website. He is not Tony Stewart. He is not Tony Soprano. He is not Tony the Tiger. That is for Tom Bowles right there. As an inside joke for us to start this show. He is Anthony Damcott, joining us here at Anthony Damcott, of course. Buddy, welcome back to Happy Hour. Glad to have you on. Hope you're in store for some fun, and glad you got maybe it was because we got Anthony to come back on that Puke Combs show up. So we're gonna thank you. It was because of you.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
We should have a soundbite that says "damn" every time we mention Anthony's name.
and no, folks, he is not in prison. He is okay. We double checked. He did not blink twice.
Yeah, I'm all good.
He's fine. He is okay. All right, let's get into
the mugshot background.
Well, don't worry. Puke Combs might end up with a mugshot before you know it. Speaking of Puke Combs, but
there was a mugshot picture taken in North Wilkesboro a couple of years ago of Puke Combs.
My point exactly. As always, sit back, relax, crack open that cold one. I feel like Massie might be the only one actually having a cold adult beverage this week. Dalton is. I'm having.
Pay attention, Trey.
Mountain Dew here. Mountain Dew.
I have Mountain Dew. I do because someone here work schedule has changed and have to get up at 5 a.m. So they really can't drink on weeknights.
It sounds like a coward.
No, that sounds like a No,
Yeah.
that sounds when you have to be live on the air at 7 a.m. the next day. That's another big thing.
You're live on the air right now.
Yeah, but I could fair. So I don't want. That's different. I mean, if I get fired from this job, I can still pay my mortgage. If I get fired from my other job, I can't. So there's a difference here. I can be drunk at this job. Okay. As always, sit back, relax, crack open that cold one, unless you're driving, of course, or you're not 21, because here at Front Stretch, we do ask for responsibility. But let's get right into it with our topic, our headline. Anthony, you are first here. The in-season tournament seeds were set, and it feels like still with 3 weeks left, there are more questions than answers when it comes to how this is going to work, who's where, what's what. I know you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of, for me, I mean, it's more of a marketing aspect. I think, we keep hearing about how the in-season tournament's coming up, but we keep forgetting about how these races are utilized for seeding, and I don't think we've made that point known to anybody. Well, I'm not gonna say anybody, but I don't think it's a widely known point that the top 32 in points, like we now have our in-season tournament field. There was a battle basically down in 32nd between Shane Van Gisbergen and Brad Keselowski, and I believe it was Keselowski who got the advantage with his finish at Nashville, and we didn't really hear much about it. And while I'm not necessarily concerned about the in-season tournament itself bringing drama and being highlighted throughout race broadcasts and on social media, I mean, a battle for 32nd isn't exactly something to write home about, but it's still added drama to a race that once we got into stage 3 of Nashville, it was pretty clear that unless we had another 5 overtime finish, that it was going to be Ryan Blaney, down the home stretch. So that could have been a great thing to focus on. How Keselowski kind of battled his way back into the top 32 and took that spot from SVG, but we just haven't heard much about it. And we keep talking about the in-season tournament's coming. It's it'll be here before we know it. But they told us about the seeding and haven't really mentioned it that much. So it'll be interesting to see how they navigate these next 3 weeks as far as promotion heading into the tournament itself. Because I'm excited for it, I really am. It's just I haven't really gotten a lot of marketing from it to kind of get me more revved up than I am.
Yeah, and the crazy part is all we know is the 32 drivers participating. We don't even know the seeding. And the seeding apparently is your best finish in the next 3 races. So if 3 guys finish first, then the tiebreaker is points. So I guess William Byron, theoretically, if he wins a race in the next 3, is guaranteed the number 1 seed because he's the points leader. That's the only thing I'm sure of. So it's very confusing on how the seedings worked. I know Daniel Cespedes, who does a lot of data stuff for NASCAR, kind of broke it down where he was trying to do what the average hypothetical brackets would look like in 3 race samples this season, but that obviously didn't he found out the seeding is, and I'm reading it from the website, there are 3 seeding races. The next 3 drivers are seeded by their best finish in those 3 races. The first tiebreaker is the next best finish in the 3 seeding races. If 2 drivers were to finish in the exact same finishing position over the 3 seeding races, the next tiebreaker is point standings following the Pocono race. So it's just based on. That's so confusing. Why is it just not points?
I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I 100% forgot this was even happening until this weekend. And I remember it was because somebody in the media, and forgive me, I forget her name, but she was the one who brought it up. And it was somebody that I'm not used to seeing very much of the track, but she was the one that brought it up. She asked the driver, hey, this is the seating. This is the last race before these. Nah, it wasn't Lee Spencer. No, someone took that question.
Your
long
best
before
friend,
her.
Lee Spencer.
Yeah, well, Lee Spencer didn't I'm sure Lee Spencer probably asked that question afterward when she realized that was a good question. She decided to take it from that certain reporter. But I think, like, when I first heard that, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was occurring. So that was really eye opening. And then I immediately thought, oh, this must be the last race before the actual tournament begins. And what they do is they take the top 32. Because that makes sense, right? I mean, that's what makes sense to me. So I don't understand why we have to do this extra thing to make it more complicated than it has to be with the average finishes. And I kind of look at it as like, why? Because like, think about what happens next for the next 3 weeks. Let's think about the next 3 races. We've got Michigan, we've got Mexico City, and we've got what's after that, Pocono, right? So what happens if Trey's hero Zane Smith? This is what we heard on the teardown. If you guys listen to it, I mean, Jeff Gluck brought up a really great point. What happens if Zane Smith just goes on a tear and gets like 3 top 10s or gets 2 top 10s, and suddenly he's like the number 2, number 3 seed? Well, then he goes into Atlanta and he's kind of set up for failure, right? So I don't know. It kind of feels extra. Like, and the other way I look at it is like, what if this happened? If this was happening now, we would have had William Byron going against Brad Keselowski and Michigan. I don't know about y'all, but I think that's a great setup. I think both. I mean,
that would be great at Atlanta too. That'd be great.
You know what? Honestly, Trey, that'd be great anywhere. I mean, I think that's a really good setup, but now it's like, oh, well, we got to do this seating thing where it's like 3, we got to make it more complicated than it has to be. And finally, I just want to point out, I have heard 3 different people in the last 2 days get it completely wrong and just assume that it's by points. Like, like, because they just don't realize what's going on with it. It's
the points set the 32 field, and then so
the field, but they don't seed
set
them.
the seed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Which is the
but like,
bigger deal, really.
If we want to use the comparison, so this is a TNT, maybe because it's a strictly only TNT product that, and obviously Prime is using a lot of the same crew, so that's why they think they want to highlight it more. Also, I think the fact that the person who kind of created this idea is currently suing NASCAR. Maybe they're not as excited about it anymore. But by the way, guys, it's not an in-season tournament. It's an in-season challenge.
Is that?
That's literally what the name they have as it. They have it as
okay. They aren't calling it a tournament.
They're calling it challenge.
That's 1,000% what it is, though.
So drivers will be seated by their best, their best overall finish over the next. So, like, for example, so here's the thing we talked about. Dalton and I talked about with Mike Neff at post-race conversations. Like, if SVG got in, he could have been a top 3 seed, and then if he sneaks by Atlanta, it's 2 road courses. He's all of a sudden in the
Yeah.
So that's
a real shame he missed it.
Yeah,
that's why that battle for 32nd mattered.
And I think the fact it was so like once Brad recovered and kind of was like, I think it was like by the end was like 15 to 20 points clear or like 10. It was not really a battle anymore, but for the first 2/3 of the race, it was until something happened with SVG and he got mired back there, and then something happened with and Kez got to recover. So but like I think part of it is, and my bigger concern is, one, the prize of $1 million, like it's the same as the All-Star, which whoop-de-doo, and 2, it appears not all the drivers are fully bought in, and when you had, I think the fair comparison to this is the NBA in-season tournament and the NBA Cup. The 2 teams to win it feature LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo, 2 of the best players in the world and 2 of the faces of the NBA. And the first one was won by LeBron James, who is has been the man in the NBA since all of us were kids. And the fact that he was so going all out to win this tournament, be the first one to win it, made fans take it seriously because they're going to look at LeBron James. Well, if you have guys like Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, I'm not going to name Chase Briscoe. I think Denny's going to take it seriously because it was his idea. but these guys not take it fully seriously,
Yep.
then that's a bigger issue. And you're adding on to it with drivers don't even know like how it's going to be seated, how it's going to work. I just think Massie, want your thoughts on this? Like overall, it feels like NASCAR is just like, well, fans wanted it. We're just going to let it happen and not explain it well. And then they got kind of an excuse to get rid of it after 1 year.
Yeah. Well, first off, before I get started on a tangent, I pulled up the NASCAR app to see what races were actually in the tournament. And they've already changed the schedule from Atlanta Motor Speedway to Echo Park Speedway, which
my bad. We got to say Echo Park. My bad.
Yeah, it's stupid. I hate it when it was called Lowe's Motor Speedway, and I hate that this is called Echo Park Speedway.
How'd you feel about Jeff Gordon Raceway?
Well, that was a one-off thing. That was a one-off.
Didn't Jimmy get one too?
It was never legit. Like Jimmy got the southbound Most Tunnel or something like that at Homestead.
Oh yeah, at Homestead, yeah.
The Jimmy Johnson Championship.
Jimmy Johnson Tunnel. Yeah.
So
he has one at Richmond too.
Yeah, but so this thing, like, I get why they want to do the seeding through the next 3 races, and it's because Amazon doesn't have a role in this. Like, it's completely TNT. If you just line it up by points, it's completely TNT's event. Which I think they should have just, if they wanted Amazon to have a part of it, just do 2 back-to-back. Like, set them up by points, have, the winner of the Amazon one get $500,000 and the winner of TNT get $500,000. Or make it 10 races long. I don't know. There's ways you could incorporate.
Second chase! Early chase!
Yeah. There's ways you could do it.
Again.
Maybe one half the field competes in the prime packages, and then one half of TNT, and then at the end you have the 2 winners, like
racing
face
for
off.
$1 million.
Yeah,
you got to do it like Cars, where it's just them 2 on the track.
Just those 2. Yeah. The other thing is, like, they're wrapping up at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You're not going to see like a bump and run to win it or something like that. It just feels like it's going to be kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to a couple of drivers that some people were asking about this past weekend, like I think Chris Buescher said something along the lines of like, yeah, I haven't been paying attention to it, like this regarding this tournament, and I feel like this kind of snuck up on us, and it's big. Like when this first got announced, when Denny Hamlin first suggested it, everyone was like, oh my gosh, like this is a great idea. Let's do it. Let's do more of it. And it was like the talk of the town for like, I mean, it was 2023 or something like that when everyone was talking about it. And now we're actually doing it and nobody cares. What happened? Where did everyone go? It's kind of,
you want to know
really
why?
strange.
My theory why is because of how long it's been since it was announced. This was announced over a year ago. Right. Yeah. And it was announced just before last year's All-Star race. And I had the pleasure of covering that race. And that was one of the big questions. And a lot of drivers were on board. They were like, yeah, this is cool. Cause like you'll see guys pitting from 16th just so they could put fresh tires on and beat the guy that they're competing against and XYZ. And like, it's been over a year at this point, right? And there's been so much that's gone on, the lawsuit, the new charter agreement, it's, brand new season, right? So many different storylines like the double and, back-to-back Daytona 500s and all this stuff has gone on since that announcement. And it's just, I'm not going to say it's lost its luster, but it's so buried in the news cycle that we have that I think, like it kind of makes sense that drivers have forgotten about it. And obviously with the $1 million, like not only is it the same prize as the All-Star race, but we just had the All-Star race. Like we just had the All-Star race a few weeks ago, and we're going to give out $1 million again, in 8 weeks time or whenever. So like I the prize kind of means nothing given that same prize as the All-Star race, and we just gave out $1 million. I honestly think if they had a little incentive, like I think one thing that I had thrown around was like, let's add playoff points. Like let's give the winner of this event like 5-10 playoff points. Let's make this worth something in the long run of the season. And I think more people would be on board with it and less forgetful about it like they are now.
I would have to increase it. You have to make it like
Yeah, 3 million.
either
3,
increase it.
2.5, 3 million.
Well, I would argue you should keep this at the million. I'd be fine with keeping this at the million and increasing your all-star race.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I disagree actually, because think about the effort that goes into the All-Star race. It's one race. It's 200 laps at a short track. This is the span of multiple races. This is a very long effort that occurs. And I'm sorry, is it like 4 or 5 weeks? Is that what it is? Is that how long it is?
It's the 5 TNT races.
It is 5. Okay, so all 5 TNT races. Like this is a long effort that you have to be good at multiple types of tracks, and this is your crews have to be on it all the time. And whereas the All-Star race is just one night, and it's not even for points. Like it's really not. If you crash or if you finish last, like it's not a big deal. You're not really gonna. You show up there and you made your sponsors happy. That's the end of that. You can move on to next week.
Yeah, so it's Echo Park, which actually in this NASCAR website still has it as Atlanta, Chicago, Sonoma, Dover, and then Indy. So you have a super speedway or a drafting track, I should say, 2 road courses, a not short track but not intermediate, and then Indy, which is a 2 not an intermediate but a
Weird
not a
mix of
So
tracks.
weird.
yeah.
Yeah, but maybe that's a good.
But I think the fact they're ending at Indy is nice. The fact that they're going to end this off at one of the biggest racetracks in the world.
Yeah,
So
it's going to come down to Chris Buescher and
Zane Smith.
Zane Smith.
Racing for 12 at the end of the
They're going to
track.
be at each other's throats.
Oh, this is how we make up all these points on Massie. What we're going to do is if you win the in-season tournament, if your driver wins the in-season tournament, they get like 300 bonus points.
Yes.
And
I'd say the thing about the seating, if it was average finished over 3 races, or like
keep it
points
simple.
scored, yeah, I'd be so much more on board. Instead, I'm like, oh, well, what's their highest finish? Well, who else finished that position? It's like it's too much math, and it just goes back to NASCAR overcomplicating everything. Because like the playoff system right now, you try to explain the playoff system to somebody that's never watched, it's like explaining calculus to them. They don't understand it. The same deal with this tournament. If I'm going to try to explain to you how the seeds are set for this tournament, now once the tournament starts, it's pretty simple. But the actual seeding for it, like, why are we doing all this math to figure out this stuff? Just keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. NASCAR needs a whole lot more kisses.
I'm just going to let that sit.
Can I be controversial? This might not be controversial, but this is.
Please be.
I think, in my opinion, I think 32 is too many. Not to have that conversation that March Madness has every year, but like I think, given how complicated the seating is, and given that it's we're trying too hard for something that doesn't even matter in the long run. Essentially, I think they were better off going with like the same amount as a playoff field. I think 16 would have been fine. I don't know if 32, because that is a lot to follow on the track, right? You're following who's leading the race, and then if you're paying attention to the tournament, you're following 16 guys or 16 matchups trying to put together who's running where and remembering who is facing who, where the matchups are, and all that stuff. I think 32 might be a little bit too big. It's almost like how I feel with the All-Star race to a degree. It's like, where's the exclusivity? I feel like that's something, top 16 in points. I feel like that's something you earn more than just like 5 DNFs to start the season, and then Brad Keselowskiing your way into the 32nd spot.
Yeah, my guess is they did 32 before Massie gets his final point in here to do the 5 weeks to match the 5 weeks of TNT.
Yeah.
I think it's that simple. That's the only simple thing that's about this. Go ahead, Massie.
I think it's a test run to see if you like 32 people competing for this, maybe you'll like 32 drivers in the playoffs.
Competing for the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to say
Everyone-
60
everyone makes
car
the
field.
I want every person to make the play. Elio Castroneves should make the playoffs this year.
Catherine Legg, you make the playoffs.
There you go. She's in.
There you go.
Get her in there. Come on.
All right,
Put 'em all in.
a guy who might make the playoffs this year is one Carson Hocevar, which is not a topic we're talking about, but it's
I was gonna say.
but
I was
this-
like, what list are you looking at there,
I'm
buddy?
looking at John's comment here, who's saying Hocevar is going to win the championship. Thank you for commenting. Jake's with a good point here. One bad race goodbye, but I got this. I still can recover. The team that Carson Hocevar drives for is, of course, Spire Motorsports, and of course, Spire Motorsports was in the news this week as there was a report from Jordan Bianchi about Jim France essentially being part of an effort to have a team race at Sonoma. Dalton, I know you wanted to touch on this because you have Massey has an article about this.
Yeah, we got.
Wait a minute, Massey has the article.
No. Actually, let me take this one. So he should take the next one.
He should. We put this.
So
Elite note taking by Trey Lyle today.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you see, folks, we throw out like 6 or 7 topics when we plan this, and then we whittle it down. So I try to remember the topics in my head before going to my notes, and I knew you wanted to talk a little bit about Hocevar too, so that's where the mix-up came in. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Hocevar's not really. I think the more bigger story right now is definitely the Jim France stuff, wanting to enter the car with Jack Aitken behind the wheel. And according to the story, I think it was Jordan Bianchi who wrote it. According to the story posted by The Athletic, it was there was a lot of pushback, and basically Jeff Dickerson with Spire Motorsports basically said, yeah, we're not doing this anymore, just because there's just so much pushback at the moment, and everyone was extremely uncomfortable with the owner, the CEO and owner of NASCAR, Jim France, was going to enter his own car, and especially amidst all the stuff that's occurring with IndyCar and Penske, it's not a good look. Now, my personal opinion on it, before I go ahead and ask Anthony what he thinks, my personal opinion on it, I don't think it was going to really be that big of a deal. I'm sure there wasn't going to be any foul play involved or anything like that. I'm sure they were going to play by the rules. NASCAR's not that dumb. They're not going to, put things in their favor, at least nowadays. They're not going to put things in their favor to, make their car up front or throw out a random debris caution if they're leading during green flag pit stops. They're not going to do anything like that. But that said, I do think the optics look bad. It's never really a good idea for a league owner to enter their own league. It just doesn't look very good. So, Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, so Jeff Dickerson was actually on Door Bumper Clear this week with Dirty Mo Media, and he said that he kind of debunked this whole thing, which, I don't blame him. Obviously, this was the leading idea, was that this was going to be, Jim France. This was a Jim France idea, and he said it was, but it was more of it was no different than a guy calling up a race team and said, "Hey, here's my driver, here's my sponsor. Can you put the car together for us?" He basically described it as it was going to be a Spire car all the way, and it was basically just Jim France doing the networking for Jack Aitken to go run that car at Sonoma. And it wasn't going to be I don't think NASCAR was going to have any involvement in it. It was more so just Jim France wanting his IMSA driver to go run Sonoma. And if that was common knowledge beforehand, before this kind of blew up, I think anyone would have a problem with that car running at Sonoma. But with the fact that there was the in the charter agreement, the idea that NASCAR could have charters for themselves and field their own team, news comes out that Jim France is leading the charge to get Jack Aitken a ride at Spire. Obviously and almost kind of rightfully so, people were kind of like, oh, well, this is NASCAR's first step into having a race team. So, but Jeff Dickerson said that wasn't the case. It was basically no different. Jim France basically just called him and said, hey, I've got Jack Aiken. I've got a sponsor, which I would presume is Whelen or whoever is sponsoring their Action Express cars in IMSA, and said, here's my driver, here's my sponsor. Can you build the car? He said the trucks were off that week, so they were going to get some of the Truck Series guys to go, pit the car. I think Matt McCall was going to go crew chief the car. Apparently the car's built, so if anyone has money and a NASCAR license, maybe they could sneak in a ride for Sonoma. But I think
I just need the license. Anyone got the money?
Yeah, like it was just. I think it was a misunderstanding, and I don't know if it was Spire who backed out of the deal or Jim France, but it seems like Jim France was the one, because they have, Dickerson said the car is built. It's sitting in the shop right now. So just a really weird development altogether. It'll be interesting to see if Jim France wants to have a go at it again and try to get Jack Aiken into a ride. I'd love to see Jack Aiken get behind the wheel of a stock car, but it's just a matter of whether or not Jim France wants to try that endeavor again.
Yeah, I feel bad for Jack Aiken for sure, and that his debut gets delayed. Hopefully he does get an opportunity somewhere down the road. And I don't blame Spire at all for, someone as a race team
taking the check.
Yes, if someone writes you a check as a race team, you say yes, thank you. So I don't blame them at all. Just Jim France being involved, it's just and if, like what you said, Anthony, if that really was the case, that really was just them doing a one-off, I don't have a huge issue with it, because I don't think he was going to come out and really impact the race that much. And I don't think they would have called things just to benefit him. But you never know. But just the fact that there is that charter thing in there is what gave everyone reservations about it. I think it's just that, and we're seeing in IndyCar right now, like how even if you're not outwardly trying to favor your cars, any little thing, when you own the series and own a car that's in there, you've got a magnifying glass on every officiating call, every technical inspection, everything. So it's just crazy that in this time, when Penske, in the same month that Penske's going through this stuff, in the same year they're going through a lawsuit, like it's just Jim France picked the absolute worst timing ever to try to set this up. And it just leaves me feeling like he's kind of out of touch. And last year I'll say this, I wrote a column saying that maybe we had better leadership under Brian France, in jest, but Brian France never tried to start his own race team. I will say that.
Everybody was really happy about that article too, Massie. Nobody was upset about it whatsoever.
If you hear that buzzing that I'm making, it's not me, it's Massey's phone. Someone's calling him. He said Beetlejuice 3 times. Yeah, I think you nailed it, Massie. I think the two factors that led to this was the issues with Penske at the Indy 500, and the year before with the push-to-pass system, and the fact that it appears they could have gotten away with some stuff and then got penalized, and how everything that went down with that. And you have a guy like the best owner in the history of sports, arguably, in Roger Penske, getting into the muck of that. And the active lawsuit, where part of the lawsuit is about them suing about the fact that NASCAR could own charters, led to an uproar. And where NASCAR, like, if the lawsuit doesn't happen, I think NASCAR gives the finger necessarily to the garage. It's like, we're still doing this just to prove you wrong. Like, we won't be corrupt or whatever. But I think the fact they're getting sued and that everything they do could be used as evidence, like this article will be used as evidence, and it's going to be like they have to be careful, and that's why they ultimately pulled out of it. Massie?
I will say I just slammed Jim France, but I will say in his defense, it did just hit me that like Humpy Wheeler did the same stuff all the time back in the day at Charlotte, and that he just ended up in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, like Dale Earnhardt's first start. I want to say Humpy Wheeler was big behind that, and like, but it was like,
but that's a promoter. That's not the sanctioning body.
Right,
Humpy Wheeler was a promoter, like.
Right, and that's where it is different. Like he's trying to get the best people possible into his race, like the World 600, so that fans will come to see like the best drivers. And I don't think Humpy was paying for it out of his own pocket either. I think he was getting the sponsor. He was more just like a networker.
Which essentially, like, all right, let's just work in a world. Like, if Jim France in this situation was Mike Smith, and it was just like, this wouldn't be a big deal. Because it's essentially Jim France brokering a deal to get Jack Aiken a cup ride, which in a vacuum, no big deal. Cool for Jack Aiken. He drives for the France-owned team in a sanctioning body that is owned by, I'm going to check my notes here. The NASCAR. That's interesting. It's just, so I think at the end of the day, the smoke around what's going on with NASCAR, especially with the Penske situation and the lawsuit, led to, I think for at this time, the right decision, but I wouldn't necessarily be fully up in arms about it, if that makes sense. Dalton, any more you want to add?
All I can say is I think it's time for these teams to stop complaining about how they don't have enough money to spend on their cars, because here's NASCAR literally trying to give them their own money to enter a race car. And they didn't take it. They got upset about it. So, geez, what does that say? You know?
Boom.
Right. Front stretch racing will take your check, Jim France.
Yeah, we will. As long as you allow myself to race in it.
No, it's me. It's going to be me.
It's me. I already called
Massie's
dibs.
the only one here that was a Monday night that's raced against drivers such as Kyle Busch.
Wait a minute. He let's correct that. Based off of my extensive research, he didn't really race in those races. He just wrecked a lot of people in those races. That
was still entered in more races than you were.
Kyle Busch and SVG both wrecked me.
Hey, I'm an F1 world champion, okay? Multiple times over, and I've won, okay? So you know, don't come at me, bro. I can.
That's F1.
Yeah, we're talking NASCAR.
Yeah, we're talking.
I've won a few Cup Series
racing.
titles. I've won a few Cup Series titles. Champion, okay? You don't see it on my racing reference page?
Nah.
I can look that up right now, actually.
Well,
don't worry, I got you.
I'm also a basketball player too, so that one's closer to be legitimate.
No results were found for the parameters you entered. That's strange. I entered Trey Lyle.
But you know what's actually a real place and offers really great things? My Place Hotels. Proud to be the official hotel sponsor of frontstretch.com. Plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels. My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Racing fans, you can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% off your stay at any of our nationwide properties. That's 10% off nationwide with code FRONTSTRETCH. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place. All right, Michael Massie. We know you're a YouTube star. Speaking of YouTube stars, there was a report out from the Sports Business Journal that Cletus McFarland, I don't even know the guy's real name. He is apparently going to be, he's done some ARCA starts this year, could be coming to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series with a very interesting manufacturer.
Yep. So the article from the Sports Business Journal, which they're pretty dang credible. They had a number of sources
just below us.
Yeah, just below us. Said that he's talking to, what's the company called? It's like Stellantis or something that actually owns Dodge.
Yeah.
Stellantis. Yeah, he's in talks with Ram, with the Dodge Ram. Well, it's even called the Dodge Ram anymore. But to come to the Truck Series, and there's not a lot known as of this time, but the rumors out there. It's got some traction, so maybe we could see probably the most famous NASCAR driver right now, active NASCAR driver. Thinks what other NASCAR driver has 4 million? I don't even know how many they have on YouTube. I know
I
they
can
don't.
look it up.
I'm sure if
like,
Chase Elliott made a YouTube page, he'd probably get as many.
Yeah,
So-
but what would he do on it? He just
Cletus
like, hey,
McFarland
guys.
has 4.39 subscribers, 39 million subscribers. Someone who has
39 subscribers total.
yes,
This
39.
is the 0.39.
Half a person.
It's me. I'm not a full person. I will say this: Bubba Wallace, who has his own YouTube page, is only at 13.4 thousand. But I think he just started that this year.
Oh dang! Front stretch
Um,
got more.
That's right.
Yeah.
We do.
Take that, Bubba. Anyway, so
Frontstretch.com sits at 28.5 thousand. So if you want to get that to 30, please subscribe.
yes, sir.
Otherwise, they'll fire us.
Please. We'll be homeless. Help us.
They'll take
Like
us
I
out
said at
back.
the top, this
Don't
pays
put-
my.
Don't put Michael
What's my
Massie
other
back on
job?
the streets of Nashville Broadway.
No, that's not Massey. Pew Combs. We need.
Don't put Pew Combs. I'm sorry, Massey. Don't put Pew Combs.
Almost blew my cover. But anyway, so Cletus is pretty dang famous. We'll go with that. And he's put a lot of eyes on ARCA this year. He's rumored to bring Dodge back to the Truck Series. I don't know. The article didn't specify whether it's part-time or full-time, but it sounds like it could very well happen. Anthony, you're the Truck Series guy around here.
Hey,
What
fun
have you
fact:
been-
Cletus has more subscribers than NASCAR's actual page.
That's wow. Yeah, I almost called you Cletus. Anthony Cletus Stamcott.
Cletus Damcott.
Anthony, Tony, Cletus, Soprano, Tiger, Stewart, Damcott.
Mitchell the
Sorry.
third, Junior.
So what have you been hearing amongst your Truck Series rumors and all of that? You think there's anything? I mean, I think there is something to it, but what do you think make of this whole deal?
Well, I think this is the most smoke we've heard about a new manufacturer in a while. And that was after we had, there were some reports of Honda wanting to join either last year or the year before. I think this is the most legitimate chance we have of getting a fourth manufacturer in one of NASCAR's premier series. It's pretty clear that if it's going to be any manufacturer, it's going to be Ram. That seems pretty consistent. Obviously, who's going to bring it back? That depends. Obviously, Cletus is the newest name, but I mean, for a while there, we were hearing that it was going to be we were going to revive GMS racing, and it was going to be Spencer Gallagher leading the charge with Dodge in a revived GMS truck. So it's apparently it's fluctuating. Now I don't know if GMS may still be in those talks, and they're just gonna now Cletus is gonna be the driver instead of Spencer Gallagher. I don't know. We don't know if GMS is even involved anymore, right? So it's the one thing that seems pretty clear is there is heavy smoke that it's going to be Ram that's going to be returning. Obviously, since Dodge left the sport in 2012, it feels like every year we get this new report that a manufacturer is going to join. But I feel like this year is been the most we've heard of a new manufacturer, and I think it's a good idea to start out in the Truck Series instead of jumping straight back into Cup. I think you kind of want to test the waters, see if you can get traction in the Truck Series, and then see if we can get some of them zombie Dodges back. No, I'm kidding. In the Xfinity Series, but yeah, I think Cletus. It's interesting because Cletus is a little bit polarizing. to a degree because a lot of people think he's just a YouTube star who can't drive a stock car. And when he wrecked the field on the restart in the ARCA race at Charlotte, that only furthered that claim. But it is interesting. He has a lot of, like you said, Massey. He is very popular. Even in the 3 races that he's done, he's gained a huge following in NASCAR. I think he could, I think if anyone has any power in that, I think Cletus could try to convince Ram. I mean, honestly, if I was trying to be convinced of something, if Spencer Gallagher tried to convince me, I don't know if I'd be convinced. But if Cletus McFarland tried to convince me, I'd probably be on board. So yeah, it's everything's in flux right now, and it's interesting on the Truck Series side of things, hearing all the stuff that I am.
Is anyone else tired of hearing about a potential new OEM entering the sport?
Me.
They want to ram it down your throat, Dalton.
I'm so tired of it.
So you're saying you want to dodge it?
Trey, I will climb over this counter.
That's a real challenger for you.
Dalton just
I
quit.
will climb over this counter, Trey. Don't make me
Do
climb
it.
over this counter.
Come through my screen.
Dalton,
All right.
you intrepid reporter, you. What? Tell us what you.
Massey, I will climb over this counter.
Listen, I'm gonna ram this down your guys' throats, okay? And I challenge you to disagree with me.
Dalton, I will climb over this counter.
Listen, I'm gonna charge my path through this argument. All
I'm
right.
glad you have the right attitude. That's a dodge.
I think
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and dart. I'm gonna dart past that opinion. I'm gonna dart past that pun right now. All right.
Take us on a journey.
Okay. All right. We're done. We're done. That's it. No more. In all seriousness, I am actually tired of hearing about the new OEMs. Because I feel like every time NASCAR is like, oh, there's a new OEM that's potentially being brought in, and then we just kind of get blue balled for 2 years. Like it's nothing really occurs, and I know this is the closest we ever have been. Like it sounds like this is actually going to happen next year. And first off, I want to say if it does happen with Cletus McFarland, I think it's the best choice because there is no driver that's more popular below, honestly, maybe below the Cup Series in total than Cletus is, I think. Because honest to God, like I saw him after the ARCA race, and I refer to him as ARCA Jesus now. Because that guy climbed out of that car after getting a top 10 at Talladega, and you would have thought he was the second coming. Everyone was surrounding him. Max Pappas walked up to him and told me that he's like the greatest driver he's ever seen. Greg Biffle is tearing off his sleeves and like acting like a redneck to do that, which is not really something I've ever seen.
Well, he
Greg
also
Biffle
lost
do.
a bet to Cletus. That's why he has to do it.
So he's a slave now.
So they bonded. So I can't remember exactly what it was, but they bonded during the hurricane relief.
A hurricane,
and
yeah.
he made a bet with Greg that Biffle had to go sleeveless for I think it's a whole year because of I think it was either he qualified for his ARCA race or he finished top. Oh, it might have been top 10 finish because he finished top 10 at Daytona, right?
No.
He crashed.
Talladega.
Or Talladega. Might have been. It was something like that. Maybe it was he qualified at Daytona.
I think it was qualifying. Yeah.
Yeah. He qualified for the race, so then he had to Biffle had to be sleeveless for a whole year. So
yeah. I mean, regardless, like I think that's first off, that's a great story. I mean, that's a great thing that like you don't really hear a whole lot of drivers doing, especially with past drivers like Greg Biffle. And great pick if they're going to do that. But my other side of that is if we're going to have a Ram, if we're going to have Dodge come into the sport, the Truck Series, for one, it sounds like they're not going to put a whole lot of investment into it because they're only going into the trucks. Two, how many Dodge teams are there going to be in the Truck Series? And if you're only going to have Cletus McFarland, don't get me wrong, I think Cletus is a decent driver. I actually really do. But I don't know if you're going to have a whole lot of success against the guys at Tricon and McAnally Racing. It's probably not going to go very well. It's probably going to look like 2007 Toyotas in the Cup Series. And then three, how long are you going to be here for? Like, are you gonna go into the Cup Series after that? Like, is because I've heard that they're going to go into the Cup Series a year later, and how is that going to look? You know, in every time we hear about this new OEM, a new OEM coming in, NASCAR has said we need to lower the horsepower. We got to lower the horsepower to attract new OEMs coming into the sport. And it's like this is what I said last week when we were talking about the horsepower deal. It's like, why are we making this our priority over making an actually decent racing product? Because it sounds like that we're hurting ourselves and we're shooting ourselves in the foot just for the sake of bringing a new car in. And honestly, we don't even know if they're going to be all that successful. So I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great if it does happen. I think it's great if they get Garrett Mitchell, aka Cletus McFarlane, in there to do it for them. I would just temper our expectations, though.
I'd be okay with if it's Cletus and then someone else.
Yeah,
I think especially.
There's no way that they would re-enter with only Cletus
McFarlane.
There's
yeah,
no way.
I still think the Spencer Gallagher thing's probably going to happen, but even then, you know,
I think they're going to get somebody. Like, think about when like Dodge came in 2001, or
they got
Toyota
Abraham.
Like, yeah, they got
mm-hmm.
established people. They're new teams, but they're also like established. Like Gibbs.
Well, Toyota did Red Bull. Toyota did Red Bull, and then
Toyota did Red Bull and Michael Waltrip.
And then they when they really got established is when they got Joe Gibbs.
Right, right. But like Bill Davis was already
team that won races, yeah.
And with this, I think you look at some of those mid-tier truck teams, maybe a few top ones like CR7, right? I could see them being the perfect target for Dodge.
I was going to say Grant Enfinger.
Yeah, Grant Enfinger.
Mm-hmm.
He just screams like Dodge Ram guy to me.
Yeah. Also, experienced racing veteran.
Exactly. I could see McEnroe.
I will say this: it'd be cool if they do Biffle for a race. Like they make Biff come back for a race with Cliff.
Oh, yeah. That
Max
would
Pappas.
Cletus. Max Pappas.
Just watch.
I mean,
if it happens, some of these guys will get sniped. Some of these, they're going to bring in some of these teams.
Good.
If they want to do an all-star car their first year with like Cletus, Greg Biffle, Spencer Gallagher.
Yeah, but you got to have a full-time guy in there.
I don't know.
Corey
Mayfield. Break out all the all the Dodge guys.
Yeah.
Richard Petty.
Kyle Petty.
Hey, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna
Thad Moffitt.
We're gonna go over. We're gonna. So I got a bold take. If I'm Dodge and I want to go to the Cup Series in 2 years, I go to Corey Heim and I say, buddy,
yeah,
your clearest path to Cup is with us. You go in the truck for a year, and then you go to Cup in a year, and then it's like, oh snap, we just signed the best prospect in NASCAR. Like, let's do this.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
I wonder how susceptible Corey Heim would be to like another team saying, "Hey, like you have a guaranteed Cup ride with us."
Hey, you hate the manufacturer you want to stay with. Well, you hate the future owner of that team. Like, it might not work out.
They told me. They said they hate you.
No. Well,
I could really see Legacy.
The Ty Gibbs Corey Heim beef.
I could really see Legacy going to Dodge, like especially like GMS.
They didn't. The problem is
Trackhouse.
Trackhouse for sure. Yeah, I don't
think it's gonna be Legacy. Legacy basically would just have wasted 3 years.
Yeah, it's true.
They're
but
not
like,
gonna do that.
Maybe not immediately, but down the road, like the 43 car and Dodge are like two synonymous. I feel like.
Yeah.
So maybe Richard Petty comes back as an owner. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Yes, Dalton. That's what I was doing. I was moving to the next topic. Okay.
Trey.
I'm gonna ram this down your throat. Okay.
Just take it.
All right. So we have another winner, a new winner in Mr. Ryan Blaney, whatever his name is. And that leads us with, I believe, 9 winners on the season. So, gentlemen, simple question. By the time the playoffs start, how many more winners will we get?
Let me do some quick math right now.
So
14.
So it's 8 is the magic number for 17. Or yes. Not counting. So 8 is the magic number for 17. I don't think we'll get there. I think we're guaranteed. Honestly, think we're only guaranteed at least. I think we're guaranteed two more at least. Tyler Reddick, and I'm guaranteeing SVG. Too many workhorses left.
Yeah, SVG.
So I think Reddick. I think Reddick gets a win
Mhm.
at some point, and I think SVG, and then you have to look at Elliott, Briscoe, Wallace, Bowman as maybe like the next tier. Then like
Hey, how about Priest?
I was getting to then the next tier is like Priest. I put Priest in a tier below because he hasn't won a race like yet in his career. Priest, Busher, and then Hocevar might be my next tier. Maybe Kyle Busch in that tier as well.
I agree with almost all of those.
Zane Smith is actually back to the locks, so I forgot to mention that.
I will agree with almost all of those, except for Bubba Wallace. I don't think he's going to win, at least not until the playoffs. I don't think.
Fair. That's fair. I meant like in terms of the contenders for winning, like that first tier I put as I don't know if they would win a race, but I would not be shocked if they won a race.
Well, I mean, everyone you mentioned, I feel like might actually win before the playoffs. I mean, like Reddick, I feel like is a shoe-in. I feel like he's going to definitely get a victory before the end of the regular season.
And I think SVG is going to win.
That's another good one.
By the time we talk after a race down south, I think we'll be talking about SVG breaking through and winning.
I think Hocevar wins before the end of the regular season also.
Yep.
I don't mean like oh he could win, like I do think he is going to win a race.
I think this weekend, Michigan home.
Yeah,
track.
that's that's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I think Priest is going to win before the end of the year at least. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it, Anthony.
Well, it's hard to pinpoint what drivers I think would win, but I see 2311 reaching victory lane before the playoffs. I see RFK reaching victory lane before the playoffs. I honestly think Chris Buescher could win his way in.
I have to agree with that, Anthony. It's a very smart choice.
I was about to say Anthony buttering up our Dalton try to get back on here.
Yeah, I think Chris Buescher can win his way in. Which, by the way, Prosper, Texas has a population of 30,000. Anyway, I would say,
that Rick Allen.
I would say it's really weird because before a few weeks ago, I don't even know if we would have gotten to like 12 winners, and then all 3 Penske guys went out and won. So, I think I agree. I think Reddick is one who will win his way in. I think Buescher will steal a win. I think Daniel Suarez can win a race. I think he's kind of underrated on the road courses at least. He's won at Echo Park before. Boy, that's going to take some getting used to. He's won there before. Obviously, you can't count out whoever's going to win at Daytona, whoever's going to Harrison Burton their way into the playoffs. I think, I could see SVG winning at Mexico or Chicago. Honestly,
Watkins win because he was that close to winning this year, and it's
he's
not
got
race.
4 bullets in the chamber. I feel like he could.
Yeah.
He
for
won
sure.
Sonoma in the Xfinity Series.
I think I also think Hocevar will win his way into the playoffs. I think there's a case for AJ Allmendinger to win his way into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I think there'll be a race before the playoffs where it's gonna come down to AJ versus SVG for the win. I really do. So
luckily for them both, there's 4 road courses, so
exactly
they can each win. They can each win one.
Yeah, they're gonna put on a show.
Another factor is I don't think Connor Zilic would win one of these, but I could see Connor Zilic winning one of the road course races. I'm assuming he's in all of them. I don't know which one he's not. Maybe not Mexico.
Yeah,
I will say this about Suarez. I think his quote unquote crowning achievement race will be the Xfinity race. He wins that. But if he has a bad weekend in Mexico City, because this is the first time really in his career all the eyes will be on him for that weekend because he's the only it's like as if IndyCar went to Mexico City. All the eyes would be on Pato O'Ward. It's like when Checo was at Red Bull. Like all the eyes were on him when F1 was in Mexico. So if it goes well and he handles it well, then I think that could catapult him into, you're right. He's won at Sonoma. He won at Echo Park. I'm calling it Atlanta. Screw it. I still think Richmond should be called Richmond International Raceway. So he won, but if it goes bad, which it could, it's racing. That really could, and let's say SVG wins. Well, the only question we have with silly season is what is Trackhouse doing? That changes the dynamic completely. The pressure goes on him. Could that tank him? Which we've seen happen before with Suarez, which I don't know if it will or it won't, but that's something to keep an eye out for. But technically, if you want to count, we have Hosfar and Chase Elliott and Bubba Wallace have all won races this year. They just races that don't count. If we want to get that intuitive, but looking
Can
at
I go yet?
Oh, sorry, Massie. Go ahead. Well, you started it.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Oh.
I have not said but
You
3
did.
words. This is the
Okay.
Trey Lyle show. I'm allowed to speak once every.
All right. Anyways,
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna take a more pessimistic approach. And Trey, don't interrupt me. So help me God. 5. There's gonna be
What?
5 more winners.
what?
How
What'd you
about
say?
we get out of here?
Go
There's gonna
ahead.
be 5 more winners.
That's 14 total, right?
That's 14.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I.
So here's the pessimistic part: Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman winless. Tyler Reddick will win. I think there will be 1 win amongst the 3 RFK cars. And then 1 win amongst RCR. You can't forget RCR is going to sneak. They always sneak a win somewhere.
think Kyle
1
Busch
win
should get one.
between Allmendinger or SVG. Only one of them is going to win. That's 4. And then Hocevar is my 5th.
I will agree.
I don't think Hosfar wins a race, by the way.
Well, I think you're wrong about that, but I will agree to the
What do you wanna
point
bet?
where
I'll go back to a mustache if Hosfar wins a race.
I don't really care about your facial hair, Trey.
I'm just trying to make I'm trying to
Really?
make the show interesting.
I don't think that SVG and AJ, because I out of those two, like you said, Massie, out of those two, I think SVG definitely has a more likely chance of winning. I haven't seen a whole lot out of AJ, and even when I do, it usually if it's going to come down to those two, I think SVG wins over AJ. I hate saying that because I think AJ is a great guy and everyone seems to like him, but I think SVG is just a little bit of a better road racer, at least nowadays.
Anything else? Oh, wise Michael Massie.
I mean, watch us all be wrong. It'll be like Stenhouse and John Hunter Nemechek win. And
Cole Custer is going to win July Daytona.
I will say, if we see
Riley
more
Hurst.
runs from Eric Jones like we saw this past week,
You mean August Daytona?
he's
Oh, sorry.
Jones is
Yeah.
a guy that could go steal one at any point.
I was gonna mention them. I should have mentioned them. I should say because he's been getting better. They've been having a decent year, better than the last 2 years.
In fact, mile.
Yeah, it's a very
I
low
think-
bar to exceed.
Honestly, I think if he can get the track position, I've been impressed by. Now, this might be I might be on my own island on this, but
Cody Ware.
No, not Cody Ware.
I think I know who you're gonna say.
Ty Dillon.
Yeah.
I think Ty. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna dive into who's the better Dillon brother, but it's clear that Colleague is probably his best shot to win a race, and he hasn't been doing terrible this year. He's come close to, he's been in the fight in the exhibition races and the All-Star Open and the like the Clash LCQ. So I could see him, if he gets the track position at a track that, he he's never won a cup race, and he's come close. I think he should have won Talladega 2020. That's a whole different story. But like, listen, I think if he gets the track position at a track where he thinks he can win at, I think Ty Dillon could steal one too.
Like, he was as fast as Kyle Larson this past week. Like, those two were side by side for a long time. And I was thinking, like, man, Larson's terrible. Is he like 30th or something? But no, it was like a battle inside the top 20. Ty was actually running pretty good.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. We'll be back next week, hopefully with a special guest. Working on that. We did have a special guest this week in Anthony Damcott. Anthony, what do you want to plug before we get on out of here? And good luck escaping prison.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hopefully I can get out soon. Hopefully the next time I'm on this show, I won't be trapped in a prison.
Anything you want to plug before we get on out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of writing coming up. I'll be writing Trucking Thursdays like usual. I believe, it's my week for Fire on Fridays. So I'll cook up a hot take to write about, and then of course Truck Series racing at Michigan this weekend. So I'll have all the analysis from that and tracking the trucks. And for more hot takes and general stupidity from me, you can follow me on X at Anthony Damcott.
Dalton, you're right in thinking this week, I assume, because Caleb is on vacation at his Long John Silver's Cruise Part 2. Michael Massie, so you're not writing this week. Are you going to a race this week?
Nope, but you can watch all the stuff we did from the Cars Tour this past weekend on the Front Stretch Grassroots YouTube page.
Well, make sure you reach out to Puke Combs. Tell him he did a good job this week. Hope to have him back next week. And that will do it for this. We'll have Bringing the Heat with Brian Nolan coming up on Thursday. He'll be out on the podcast feed. Stock Car Scoop on Sunday, as well as Through the Gears coming out on Friday with Wyatt Watson. That will do it for this episode of Happy Hour. Signing off for now. Enjoy the race this weekend. Goodbye, everybody.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel partner of Front Stretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Front Stretch fans can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Sign up for our Stay Rewarded program to get even more savings. With My Place Hotels, don't just stay rewarded.